It's News and Talk 1380 WAOK. Good evening. I am Sean Garvey. Welcome to the mental space with my executive producer, Simone, in the studio with me. 404-726-1380 is the telephone number. You can also check us out on the World Wide Web, WAOK.com. That's WAOK.com. And don't forget to download the Odyssey app, which you should have by now, to listen to the mental space wherever you are on the go. Odyssey app, search for News and Talk 1380 WAOK. And don't forget to tell Alexa, play News and Talk 1380 WAOK. I hope you are having a great Wednesday thus far. Now, usually at the very beginning of the show, I do a breathing exercise, right? But I'm going to be honest with you. I repeat, I am in not the best of moods this evening. I know that is surprising to many of you all because you are so used to hearing the go-lucky, joyful, and yet at times serious Sean Garvey on the air Wednesday nights between 7 and 9 p.m. But I had a very long day. And I'm not in the best of moods because of a few nuances that took place during the day. So I'm going to share with you, not a whole lot for legal matters, but a little bit of what happened. And I'm going to coincide it with someone that you all know and love that went through the same thing that I went through. And of course, if you're new to the program, this is not only a show where we discuss all things mental health related, but we also talk about taking accountability for the choices that you make in your everyday life to keep you and others in a great mental space. And speaking of accountability, I think personally, there's not enough accountability in our community at times. So let me give you a scenario. Earlier today, I had something happen to me. And I can't really go into too much of it because of legal purposes. Like, I know some of you are like, what is going on with Sean Garvey and his legal matters from his car accident back in March 11th of this year to this situation? It must be the city that I live in or that I work in, and the same city that I'm born and raised in. But we'll get into that into another episode. But it was dealing with customer service. And I was on the phone with a representative from a local bank branch, which I will not disclose what that is. And I needed immediate help with my situation. So I was transferred. You know how the process goes. You get transferred from one representative to another, to another, to another. And then you're talking to that other person on the end. And the woman on the other end of the phone that I was speaking to, she just kept saying, well, I don't know what to tell you. You got to go to the bank tomorrow. You know, I understand where you're going, but sir, I'm trying to tell you. And I'm like, ma'am, you're not listening to me. You're not listening to what I'm saying. Because if you was in my shoes, you would be frantic just like I am. It's like, yeah, I understand. Well, all I can say, sir, is you got to go to the bank tomorrow. Like, okay. So I called the institution again a few minutes later, and I asked to speak to the superior supervisor. And I got transferred over to the superior / supervisor. And after I broke down what happened to me to the supervisor, she said, I am so sorry that you went through that. We're going to get you squared away. We're going to fix your issue immediately. And she was just very sympathetic. And I was like, what is wrong with this picture? Because a few moments ago, before I talked to the superior, the woman that I spoke to in customer service, well, it wasn't customer service, more in the department, but yet in any department that you work in corporate, is a form of customer service. I know, I used to work in customer service. In radio, we do customer service. But the picture was, this woman was telling me one thing and giving me a nonchalant attitude. And then this other person who is the supervisor is giving me A1 customer service and is very sympathetic about my situation. So I compare that to a good friend of mine. Well, she's not only just a good friend of mine, but she's a great friend to all of us here at Odyssey and at WAOK. And that person is Monica Kaufman Pearson, which we had on the show last year on the Mental Space. And she went on Facebook Live a few days ago and expressed her disappointment into the young lady that did not solve the issue that was happening towards her in that moment of time, which, by the way, Monica expressed on Facebook Live that she was trying to get jointing rooms for both her husband, and her mother-in-law that is suffering from Alzheimer's. God bless them. And the young lady that Monica Kaufman Pearson was talking to was telling her, well, there's nothing we can do, and just giving her a nasty attitude. But then when Monica, talked to the head honcho of the hotel, different energy. You know what? You're right. We're going to fix it right away. Now, what is the point, ladies and gentlemen? Because I know we're coming up on a break. The point is that it's not always about racism. Every situation is not all about racism. Because in this particular situation with the young lady, unfortunately, and I do mean unfortunately, she was a young Black woman. And the person that took the problem and escalated it to get immediate assistance happened to be an older white woman. That's for another episode. But that's why I'm not in the best of moods today, because when it comes to accountability, we want to hold the mirror up to other groups of people outside of our community and not use that same mirror towards us. But like I said, folks, that's for another episode. Tonight's show, we got some special guests. We're going to talk about it coming up. It's the Mental Space, Sean Garvey, News Talk 1380, WAOK.
Music Talk WAOK.
All right, sorry. That talking, maybe, now I'm getting hot. Okay. So I know I rubbed some feathers there when I said what I said. Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break, y'all. Forgot to say, WAOK and the Flow Television Network. We'll be right back after these messages.
All right, and the next song is Take the Time.
The Mental Space with Sean Garvey right here on News Talk 1380 WAOK. You know what time it is? What time is it? It is, what time is it? Time for you to manage your mental health and time to make some right choices in your life. What time is it? It is time for you to detach from social media and YouTube. Not saying you got to give it up altogether, but detach yourself from social media and other platforms that are not giving you nutrition, that are not giving you the seeds for you to plant. In the media world, because of course, me and Simone, we work in the media world, there will be at times rumors going around about a particular celebrity and public figure, and rumors about what this person is doing and what this person allegedly doing, because now you got to use the word allegedly now, right? More than ever before. And people get caught up in the gossip. People get caught up in the rumors. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I did a show, an episode rather, on content creators, social media influencers, and mental health. You remember back in the day when you had the tabloid magazines, the National Enquirer, the Star, the Sun, all those tabloid magazines, right? And then fast forward, you have what? TMZ. We as human beings have become those particular tabloid magazines. We like to gossip. We like to spread rumors that may or may not be true. But how does that tie in with your mental health? Because if you listen to the episode from a few weeks ago, shout outs to G. Wade and Chantel Thompson and Dr. Umar Johnson for weighing in on the conversation. We talked about how people have expressed anxiety and trauma from either doing those kind of videos, from being on social media, putting out content, engaging with other people about these particular rumors and how they have been traumatized and how they have been having anxiety attacks just from debating against people that they have never ever seen before in their entire life, because they utilize social media all the time to get their opinions and the thoughts out there. But it can be very non-counterproductive. It can really test your mental health. I mentioned this last week. There's 24 days. 24 hours. 24 hours in a day. Utilize that time to be at peace with yourself and to put out more positive content, not toxic-based content that won't matter 10, 15 years later, that won't benefit or help people that are facing bigger problems. So take the time to detach yourself from social media and YouTube, because the more and more you hear people online making opinions about false accusations and rumors that may not be true, you're going to start to believe, well, that may be true. And you will become what you see, what you hear. It's just like the saying, you are what you eat. And you got to be careful of what you put in your body. You got to be careful of what you put in your mind. Right? So that is my, what time is it? Right here on the Mental Space with Sean Garvey, 404-726-1380. And I said what I said before the break about customer service. And I said that would be a conversation for another episode, because that's not what we're going to talk about tonight. But I just wanted to express that to your listeners, because this show is authentic. This is not just only my show. This is your show. And this is a safe space to really vent and to get off whatever you want to get off. Like this caller right here, 404-726-1380. We got Joe from Jonesboro. Joe, what's up? I'm hanging in there.
the conflict between your value system and somebody else is like having two different computer programs running in your computer at the same time. The two are incompatible. One's going one way and the other's going the other, and it causes conflict. And that's when you have to get a technician to come in and resolve the issue.
Okay.
In your lifestyle, in your environment, someone has established instructions and information that negative, destructive, or contrary to your own political and social values. And that was causing conflict. White boys go to the library of the college and they read Mein Kampf, and then they come back and try to establish that with American political politics and value systems, and it causes conflict that way. All his other friends are telling him that's not right, that's incorrect, you need to change that, and then goes off on a tirade, gets a gun, and starts shooting people. That's the problem that most of us are involved with when there's no medical reason for your mental dysfunction. What you have to do is find out what books or contrary instructions or political adversity that they have been studying and are running around now trying to practice something that we already know is obsolete and ineffective.
Yeah, so just for our listeners and just for the clarification, because we want to make sure that our listeners are on the same page with what you're saying, because I'm trying to convey what you're saying to where we're on the same page together. Basically, what you're saying is that in the time that we're living in right now, whether it's social media, the internet, or even in platforms inside the media world, there are what I call beautiful lies and ugly truth. There are people out there that want to hear a beautiful lie and people that ignore the ugly truth because it's something that needs to be said, but they don't want to hear it. Just like that analogy that you made about the pimp and the prostitute. Is that what I'm getting from you thus far?
Direct information that's directly contrary to your the values and beliefs, you have to separate it from what you're going to practice. It's like when Christians listen to Farrakhan and they start believing in Islam instead of Christianity, and then it causes a conflict in your performance, in your attitudes, and what you do. That's how ISIS recruits its followers, and that's how they get suicide bombers. They just go.
All right. And I appreciate your call, Joe. Thank you so much for calling in with your comment. And hey, look, why can't we just agree to disagree at the end of the day regarding of what belief system you have? Look, we had Misha Maynard on the mental space last year, of course, and people were not pleased by her switching from Democrat to Republican. And that's okay. And that's okay. Because at the end of the day, for me, it's all about, okay, what are you going to do for your people at the end of the day? We're all affiliated with somebody that we may or may not like. What are you going to do at the end of the day? What are you going to do that's going to change the trajectory of what's going on? I'm not so much fazed by public opinions because my reality, especially at 39, going on 40, my reality may be different from yours. And we have different realities. And so with us having different realities, we have different opinions that we can come to a mutual understanding to one common goal, because it's not just about me. It's not just about you. It's about all of us. Your reality is different from mine. How can we get to a common goal in order to solve the problems that are plaguing in our community? We got Chris James coming up in just a few moments. I got a big introductory to bring him into the mental space. You're going to learn more about Chris James tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I know I broke one of the rules. We're coming up on the bottom of the hour. We got news coming up. But I know I broke one of the broadcasting rules. And one of the broadcasting rules in radio is you're not supposed to let the listener know how you really are. But like I said, this is the mental space where we keep everything authentic. 404-726-1380. News and Talk 1380 WAOK.
This is the Grammy-nominated Creative Noting Vocal Choice Spoken Word Artist of the Year, Queen Sheba, and it is my honor to be on the mental space with Sean Garvey and WAOK.
Breaking news, sports, weather.
Oh, I'm sorry.
WAOK
We'll be right back as I eat my ramen noodles. We'll be right back after these messages. So, We're back. News Talk 1380 WAOK. The email address is thementalspaceshow@gmail.com to receive your feedback, questions, and other inquiries. Yes, I do respond back. I'm not one of those people that don't. The email address, once again, is thementalspaceshow@gmail.com. By the way, folks, we are broadcasting live on WAOK.com, 1380 WAOK, and simulcasting on the Flow Television Network. So if you have a Roku TV, an Apple TV, Fire TV, or any smart TV, you can download the Flow application to your plasma or your flat screen TV and watch the Mental Space Show live. For all of my people that want to see us visually, you can go to the Flow on your Roku TV. And you can also follow 1380 WAOK on Instagram to check me out in the studio with my special guest, in which I will bring on in just a few moments. Got to read some of these comments here. Speaking of 1380 WAOK on IG, we have Carmen Walker, I believe that is Carmen Walker. This person says PTSD daily, especially during traffic stops, which are an pandemic towards people of color. Reform is absolutely imperative. When the stop is made, the officer needs to have the ticket already. So, interesting point there. Interesting point. 404-726-1380 is the telephone number. I have Chris James in the studio with me. Chris James, another mental health advocate, as we talk about the importance of mental health advocacy, since we are only days away from September, which of course September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Chris James is a certified mental health first aider, public speaker, and author of the book Get Up, Get Out, and Get Some Healing. As the director and founder of the organization Creative Connections, he provides instructional training to students and professionals across America to address arts, education, social, emotional learning, and mental wellness. Chris James designs a unique program to address mental health crisis responsiveness, cultural responsive teaching, and social engagement. He is also a proud 2016 and 2023 TED Talk alumni. Chris James is most famously recognized as a nationally award-winning spoken word artist who ranked second place in the world's second largest poetry competition. In 2019, he was invited to be the keynote speaker at the United States Capitol for Congress members. He uses his many talents to accomplish a very specific, and I do mean specific, mission, which is to serve people. Chris James, welcome to the Mental Space.
Man, thank you for having me.
How is your mental health, sir?
Man, my mental health is I would say from a scale of 0 to 10, man, it's at a 9.8.
9.8. That's not bad.
Yeah, I'm in a really good space, man. I'm happy. For those who don't know, I got married 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
So I'm living a real good life, man, all the way around, and I can say I'm in the best physical health in my life that I've ever been. Yeah, man, it's just a real good life, bro, all the way around. So I'm happy.
Okay, I want to go back to what you just said just now. You got married 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
2 weeks ago. 12th. August 12th.
Yeah.
Wow. And your mental health is at a 9.8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how are we going to keep that at a 9.8 as you and your wife, your official wife now,
Amen,
are going through the marital bliss, the process now?
Mm-hmm.
The honeymoon's over.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's not. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, as we're on the mental space,
Mm-hmm.
A part of the work that I do as a mental health practitioner is I like to do the work of changing the narrative. A lot of folks use the language of marriage is hard, life is hard, and
Mm-hmm.
Just all these words, right? And as a poet, I'm big about words. How do you make a word, right? You spell them. Every word that you put out of your mouth and put into your mind is a spell. So we gotta stop casting these spells on ourselves.
Right.
So I'm forever in my honeymoon, man. This marriage is gonna be healthy and happy and fruitful for a long time. And the way that we're gonna stay in this marital bliss and in this healthy space is through constant communication, and laughing and laughing and laughing and laughing, and pouring nothing but good things into our bodies and our minds. You spoke earlier about and taking too much social media and all the toxic stuff that's happening in the world, and that's how I maintain such a healthy life and stay in such a healthy space mentally. I do everything in my power to not partake in the negative things that are in the world. You know, I ain't listening to no crazy music about killing people and abusing women. I'm not listening to music or eating foods that aren't good for me, man. I stopped eating meat almost 2 years ago. Lost 35 pounds for the first time in my adult life. I could see a six-pack forming.
Okay.
You know,
Yes.
You know, so that's how, man. I'm gonna maintain this 9.8, 10 mental health status.
I love it. I love it, man. You giving me motivation. I came into the studio and I told you off air, Chris, that I'm making it, man. You know, I'm making it. My Richter scale of mental health is not where you are at. It went down. It went down from a 9.9 to something else. You know, and in just the thought of hearing that from another Black man, it gives me even more joy. You know, to hear that, because in the space that we're in, we're both Black men. We're both African American men. And when you think about mental health or even conversations about mental health, it's either coming from people of different communities outside of our community or from Black women, right? But you don't never hear enough conversations of mental health around Black men.
I mean, so we're having them though.
We're having them.
We're having them. We're having them. So again, like if people are following me, again, I'm Chris James. For those who are listening and for those who are watching, again, I'm Chris James, and my organization and the group of men that I'm surrounded by, we're constantly having conversations about mental health as it relates to Black men. Like you got a group right here in Atlanta called Undo Group, which is Swahili for brotherhood. They meet, I think, 2 times monthly. And it's, when I tell you, it's almost 50 Black men there every time they meet.
Are you serious?
Oh,
50
man.
Black men.
Oh yeah, talking about all the ways that we can grow and heal. My organization, we're actually hosting an event.
Wait, hold that thought. We're coming up on the break.
Okay.
Our listeners need to hear this. And
Absolutely.
This is why, like I said, this is why a show is needed, because you don't get this kind of information from anywhere else. All right. There are organizations supporting Black men supporting other Black men. So we're going to talk about that. Let's put a bookmark in that. 404-726-1380. It is The Mental Space with Sean Garvey on 1380 WAOK and on the Flow Television Network.
This is why I love you. And we're rocking that major hope.
Share this video, man. Let's get some people involved.
Talk 1380 WAOK. Still hanging out with Chris James, award-winning poet, also a certified mental health first aider, public speaker, and the author of the book Get Up, Get Out, and Get Some Healing. Chris James in the studio. Before the break, we were talking about an organization that you are a part of, 50 Men Deep. 50 black men. Ooh,
Oh yeah.
That's a big number.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, something about Atlanta, man. I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas, but I moved to Atlanta in 2017, man. And I would say, as a black man, as a creative, as a mental health practitioner, there's no greater space to be in geographically than Atlanta, Georgia, man. It's all happening here. So yeah, I mean, there are so many different groups that I've been able to participate in Atlanta as it relates to black men doing the healing work. Again, Undungu is a group that meets bi-weekly. And for those who are listening, if you want to know, attend that. You spell it. The spelling is UNDUGU. Undungu. Which is Swahili for brotherhood. Make sure you check them out. But also, you got the Black Men's Lab. The Black Men's Lab is probably 100 deep every Monday and Tuesday. And the Black Men's Lab is it's amazing. When I tell you, it's almost 100 men at the Black Men's Lab every Monday or Tuesday, talking about ways to grow in business, mental health, and family, all the things. Powerful groups. And then my group, the Fellas Mixer, we meet every third Wednesday, and we talk about all the ways that black men can grow. And then September 13th, I'm hosting an event called Black Men Need Healing. So the list goes on, man. We're doing the work, brother, for black men.
You are serious about this mental health thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, serious, so serious. I met you because I want our listeners to know how we met. I met you at the, wait for it, the Black Wall Street.
Yeah, the
new Black Wall Street.
Yeah.
And I talked about it on the air. And I saw that you was hosting a panel. It was a couple of people on there on stage.
Yeah.
And it was all mental health awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did that come about?
Yeah. So my organization, shout out to New Black Wall Street Market, the only black mall in America, right here in Stonecrest, Georgia, owned by the amazing Leicester Bill Allen, a billionaire, the largest landowner in the city of Stonecrest, by the way.
Say that one more time.
The Leicester Bill Allen, owner and founder of the New Black Wall Street Market. He is the largest landowner in the city of Stonecrest, Georgia.
That's what I'm talking about.
So make sure you check out that brother and go support the New Black Wall Street. But how we met is my organization, Creative Connections, which you can follow at ourcreativeconnections.com. We were hosting our first ever Get Off the Couch mental health concert and conference. I'll say that again, our first ever Get Off the Couch mental health concert and conference. So we were hosting that day on July 15th when we met.
Now, Get Off the Couch. What does that really mean? When I think of couch,
Absolutely.
I'm thinking get on the couch to talk to a therapist.
Yeah.
But get off the couch, what does that exactly mean, though?
So the phrase, it comes from my book. So I wrote a book that you mentioned in my intro. The book is called Get Up, Get Out, and Get Some Healing.
Yeah.
And on the front of the book, there's a gentleman sinking in the couch, right? And he's sinking in the couch because so I use this analogy. The longer you avoid your healing process, right? The deeper you sink into the metaphorical couch of life, right? You're you're drowning in that couch. You're a couch potato. Right.
It's like you are in a sunken place.
You're
in a
sunken place because of your mental health struggles.
Yeah.
So the longer you avoid your healing process, the deeper you sink into the couch. So what I'm telling people with that phrase is to get up, get out, and get some healing. And how you begin your healing process is you have to get off the couch and start doing the work.
Yeah.
And that's the button I got on, get off the couch.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what that's about, man. That's the movement. We want people to get off the couch.
Why do you think there are people that don't want to get off the couch? Do you think it's because they are too afraid of what others may think about them, or what do you think the problem lies?
So I'll say this, man. So when people are are drowning in their mental health struggles,
Mhm.
right, or in their mental illness, in their pain, in their hurt, right? These people are they're very sick, right? And I will say nobody wants to be hurt or to be sick or to be in pain. The issue is that most times people don't have the language to identify what they're struggling with, so they accept it as their norm. A lot of people don't have the resources to get out of that dark space, and so we just stay there. So we it becomes our norm, and we just often never get out of there. But a part of the work that I'm doing is I'm teaching people how to swim, you know, because so many of us are drowning in our trauma, and our hurt, and our pain. But that's the thing. Yeah, people just don't know how to swim. But I don't think anybody wants to stay in their hurt and their trauma. They just don't know how to get out of it.
Wow. They just don't know how to get out of it. 404-726-1380 is the telephone number. To circle back to the panel, what did you get out of, what did you take away from the panel discussion that took place at the New Black Wall Street? Because there were people on stage that were saying something. They were saying some very important things to the audience.
Definitely, man. I think, I took a lot away from it. I think, but more than anything, I was just reminded of how valuable the work is that I'm doing in this mental health space. But one of the major nuggets that I took away was during the panel, Black Men Need Healing. That was one of the panels featuring some amazing Black men in the mental health space and in the community. But one of the questions posed by the moderator, Jay White, is what is the role of the Black woman in the Black man's healing? And then he followed up and asked, well, does the Black woman play a role in the Black man's healing? And that right there sparked a lot of conversation with a lot of people, and even with me.
Was there a lot of mixed reviews, mixed feelings?
No, I think we were all in sync. Reality is the Black woman does play a role in the Black man's healing.
How so?
And the Black man also plays a role in the Black woman's healing.
But how so, though? How so? Can you break it down?
Yeah. Well, I can definitely talk about that a little bit. So the first woman that the Black man is in relationship with in the womb,
the mother
is his mother.
Yeah.
I was with my mother 9 months before I was with any other human, right? So that in many ways biologically explains why the man is usually so connected to his mother versus his father, right?
Yeah.
There's a biological difference in the timeline. Like, I am connected to my mother and to a woman in a much deeper way. I hear a lot of women say things like, a man want a woman to be his mother. I ain't gonna be your mama, right? But you got to understand the significance of that and what that means, right? There's a large piece of nurturing that takes place in the relationship with a mother and her son. When a woman comes into a man's life to become his wife or the matriarch in his life now, she has to in many ways replace that feminine divine energy that the mother once gave to that man.
Okay.
So there is a need for you to show up in that space. What men, as we continue to talk about how the Black woman plays a role in the Black man's healing, I want you to think about it like this. The man operates in his, most times, hopefully, operates in his divine masculinity. There's a need for a balance. Also, men operate in their femininity, but Black women or women operate in their divine femininity. And with that balance, we can all do some healing. We can all do growing, right? There's a significant amount of growth that comes from divine masculine and divine feminine being in a relationship. There are things that I need that I don't even know I need, but the woman just divinely knows that I need that. And she knows how to pour that into the Black man in a way that he doesn't know how to.
Oh, well, you're going to have the phone lines blowing up, Chris, because let me tell you something. Look, and I talked about this, and I do not mean to go back to one of our previous episodes, but I have to, Chris. when we did content creators, social media influencers, and mental health, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about that piece in the universe of social media influencers and content creators, because now you have this movement called the manosphere. And the manosphere on the internet, on YouTube, is where a movement of Black men are exposing or talking about the everyday modern Black woman and putting it all on the Black women.
Yeah.
But to your point, that right there is about the Black woman being a part of the Black man's healing. I don't hear that.
Yeah.
I don't hear that in the manosphere.
That needs to be the conversation.
That needs to be the conversation. Let's put a bookmark in that. Can you stick around for 2 more segments?
Let's do it.
Okay, we're gonna have Chris James stick around for 2 more segments, and then coming up a little bit later on the mental space, we also gonna have another guest. It is pre-recorded, ladies and gentlemen. Kim Hart will join the mental space to talk about her journey and so much more. That's a little bit later on the mental space, as well as Simone's Choice coming up in the next hour on the mental space with Sean Garvey, News Talk 1380 WAOK.
Into the mental space with none other than Sean Garvey. Y'all always keep yourself and others in a great mental space. Y'all make sure you keep it locked right here. News Talk WAOK.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, The Mental Space Live on Facebook and on Instagram. Welcome to the second hour of The Mental Space with Sean Garvey right here on News and Talk 1380 WAOK. Did you know that it's okay to not be okay? We know the power of talk can save lives. Odyssey's I'm Listening aims to share valuable resources for those who need to connect, heal, and share their own stories. Odyssey's I'm Listening initiative aims to encourage those who are dealing with mental health issues to understand they are not alone. If you or anyone you know is struggling with depression or anxiety, know that someone is always there. Additionally, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 988. Find a full list of additional resources online, odyssey.com/I'm Listening. And speaking of I'm Listening, stay tuned to News and Talk 1380 WAOK for complete updates on the upcoming I'm Listening campaign that will be airing live on News and Talk 1380 WAOK. Once I get more information on that, I will let you know. And speaking of mental health, we have Chris James in the studio still hanging out with us, certified mental health first aider, public speaker, and author of the book, Get Up, Get Out, and Get Some Healing. 404-726-1380 is the telephone number. Before the break, Chris James, we were talking about the Black woman being a part of the Black man's healing. And I think we need a lot of that, because even in my own personal life, right, I deal with so much stuff as a Black man, as a Black man. And I don't think, Chris, and I'm just being very transparent, I don't think a lot of our sisters exactly know what we tend to go through at times. Like, we could tell them, hey, I'm having a bad day. I'm going through some stuff right now, this, that, and the other, right? But the pushback, from which I hear from a few other Black men, the pushback I hear is they ain't trying to listen. They ain't trying to listen. It's all about them. They don't know what we go through, this, that, and the other. And sometimes I feel like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like that.
Yeah, and everything you're saying is valid. I mean, you're not wrong. I think you're right on point. I think you're right, but but it's deeper. It's deeper. So yes, Black women do not understand completely what Black men are going through. But if a Black woman was to participate in this conversation, she would say the same thing, and vice versa, that we don't understand the things that she's going through.
Yeah, what they going through.
And her truth will be valid. So I think the way to dead all of that, right, all of this back and forth, is just to accept that, we're all going through something. We're all hurting. Black men are in deep pain. Black women are in deep pain. And what we all have to do, Black women, Black men, is we all have to do the work to become more conscious of these mental health struggles. We have to become more conscious of emotional literacy, right? There are a lot of people who are just emotionally illiterate, right? They don't know how to read the room. They don't know how to read emotions or to even understand their own emotions or mental health struggles when they show up in their lives, right? Like, you can be, as a Black man, you've probably experienced a lot of emotions. You experience a lot of emotions today. And there are a lot of Black men who experience a lot of emotions today, but some of the emotions you experience today, they may, in some cases, be more severe to you than they actually are, because you don't have the language for those feelings that you're feeling. Yeah. So what is trauma, right? Trauma is an experience that becomes disturbing and distressful. How do you avoid that, right? How do you avoid an experience like a car accident, like being shot or your house being caught on fire from becoming trauma? Right. Because there's a way, because these tragic situations do not have to become trauma. They become traumatic when they become disturbing and distressing. So how do you avoid them from becoming disturbing and distressing? You do so by doing the work to have a greater understanding of what it is that you're experiencing.
Right.
So when you understand the emotions that you're experiencing, that anger, that pain, that hurt, that sadness, you're more likely to not become traumatized by. You're more likely to not ruminate in the darkness of it, because you now are equipped with the skills to get out of it, right? So, and that's something like, because today you came in and you talked about your situation and how it took your mental health from a 9.9 to it took it down, right?
Yeah.
We don't have bad days. We have bad moments. But the reason we have bad days as a result of bad moments, because we don't have the skills most often to interrupt the looping of that hurtful moment. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to teach people to be resilient enough in their own space to be able to interrupt the looping of those not so comfortable or feel good moments that we experience in our everyday lives.
404-726-1380 is the telephone number. Let's take some calls, Chris. Let's go over to Todd. Todd, what's up?
Sean, Chris.
Hey.
What Little Rock you from, Chris?
You said what part of Little Rock?
Yeah.
North of the Rock. I grew up in Rose City, man, in Washington.
Okay. All right, so here's my question. Here's my comment. Here's my question. My comment is that in my life experience, what I've seen, when you were referencing people sinking into a couch and sinking because they weren't actively working on their mental health, their mental unhealthiness, they became further down into their mental health unhealthiness. In my life experience, I've seen that the reason for that most often has actually been because, one, they reach a state of apathy. They may have the skills, but they become so apathetic that nothing can really be done, that they don't move on correcting the unhealthiness. And two, they don't take the responsibility of being diligent in their patience. Correct their unhealthiness. Sometimes success often is achieved in small increments before you get to the big accomplishment. And you have to be patient. A lot of folks find themselves right in because of their apathy. Can't appreciate those increments of advanced success so that they can get to the big one. That's what I've seen more often in my life. Why people use as a metaphor thinking it's the couch. Yeah. My question though is this: do you spend much time working with people that are in mentally healthy state and just trying to improve, as opposed to just dealing with people that are mentally unhealthy?
Hold that thought. We're gonna hold tight, Ty. We're gonna come back to you and to Chris, so that way, Chris, you can answer that question when we come back from the break. We're gonna give you some time to marinate on that question there, because that's a deep question.
Yeah, it was a great question.
That's a great statement. Yes, sir. 404-726-1380, and we're gonna take some more calls. We're talking about the importance of having healthy mental health conversations with yours truly, Sean Garvey, plus Simone's Choices underway right here on News Talk 1380 WAOK.
And
We have a short break.
Okay. So
We have a short break.
In for Mr. Garvey's.
What?
I said we have a short
space.
break.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. That's good. That's good, man.
What's up, Jonathan
All right.
Mitchell?
Your
Hey,
coach
man.
gives it to you
I got
straight.
you, bro. I
You should
got
sit
you.
in
What's up?
jail for no fault.
news and talk 1380 WAOK and on the Odyssey app.
You want Todd back on?
We're also on the Flow Television Network, simulcasting on the Flow. Make sure you download the Flow app to your smart TV and watch us on the Flow Television Network. And you can even go to theflow.lightcast.com while you're listening to us on News Talk 1380 WAOK. Hanging out with Chris James and got Todd on the line, 404-726-1380. I see you callers. We're going to get to you in just a few moments, but I want Chris James to respond to Todd's question. Do you want Todd to repeat the question, or you good?
Yeah, Todd, go ahead. Yeah, he can definitely repeat it if he's still here.
Okay, Chris. So what I want to know is that do you spend much time, and so can you give some description of how you spend the time working with people that are actually mentally healthy? They're mentally healthy people. They're working on something that they're struggling with mightily, that's difficult, but it's not because they're mentally unhealthy. They're just working on problems that are contributing to their mental healthiness.
Yeah.
Managing a healthy family, managing a budget, working to get a promotion, things like that.
Yeah. So thank you for your question, Todd. So I'll just kind of mention some of the hats that I wear as a mental health practitioner. So I am a mental health first aid instructor. So some of the work that I do is I certify people across the country in mental health first aid. And if you don't know what mental health first aid is, for those who are listening, it is a training through the National Council of Mental Well-Being that equips people with the language and skills to respond to those who are dealing with a mental health crisis, right? You find out somebody is a cutter or displaying behavior that may lead to suicidal actions, right? So I train everyday people how to effectively respond to situations like that. I'm also a certified anger management specialist and a mental health coach and keynote speaker. So I two-time TED Talk speaker. So I recently did a TED Talk that in that TED Talk, if you Google Chris James TED Talk, it'll come right up. But in that TED Talk, I talk about how everyday people can help to prevent mental health crises. So those are the hats that I wear as a mental health practitioner. And as a mental health coach, I do get to spend time in one-on-one capacities with people who are dealing with mental health struggles. I tell people when I believe that everything is figure-outable. Everything is figure-outable. And in the space of being a mental health coach and practitioner, I look at mental health the same way I look at physical strength, right? How do you become physically stronger? You become physically stronger by exercising, by working out, right? By working out certain areas of the body, right? You become stronger in your arms, right? By lifting, in your biceps and your legs, by doing certain things in the chest, right? So it's the same thing with mental health. How do you become mentally healthier, even when you're dealing with all these normal life stressors, as Todd just mentioned, like managing a family or managing a business or just regular stressors, right? The same way you become physically stronger, you work out. So how do you work out when it comes to your mental health? By practicing behaviors that are considered hard or heavy, right? Yeah. So for me, right? So becoming stronger in certain areas of my mental health, I do things more often, right? So I'm exercising it. So I'm lifting it more and now I'm becoming stronger in that department or area of my mental health. So for instance, I practice, right? I exercise in eating healthier, right? So at first, I was only able to not eat meat. So again, I haven't eaten meat in 2 years, right? At first, I was only able to not eat meat for a week because I wasn't strong enough to do it for a year, right? Or mentally healthier enough to do it for a year, right? Yeah. So I started out with 4 days, 7 days, and then I got stronger. I graduated to 10 days. Then I graduated. So another example, right? You may not be mentally healthy enough to deal with uncomfortable conversations like uncomfortable conversations, like talking about certain things, which let's say your father who contributed to triggers or trauma in your life.
Yeah.
Right. So you may only be able to handle conversations with your father for 10 minutes before you go off. Right.
Yeah.
But instead of running away from it or going off, so the way we improve our mental health in that area is next time we're going to intentionally do the work to practice on let's say I'm going to participate in the conversation with my father this time for 20 minutes this time. Next time I come back, I'm gonna be a little bit more skilled to do 30 minutes, right? So how do we become mentally healthier is by practicing behaviors that are usually considered heavy in our lives, right? And that's the work, and those are some of the things that I work with my colleagues and I would say friends and people in the community with to help them become stronger in their mental health capacity.
Yeah. And I have had plenty, when I say plenty, I'm talking about plenty of uncomfortable conversations with my dad and especially with my mom. Even today, I had an uncomfortable conversation with my mother because you spoke about your mom.
Yeah.
You spoke about your mom. Mothers,
yeah, mothers,
black women, part of the healing process for black men.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there will be some sort of healing coming out of that uncomfortable conversation I had with my mother earlier today. Because in my thought process as a black man, I'm like, you're not hearing me. You're not hearing me because you don't understand what black men go through and the adversities. And like I alluded to earlier in the program, that my reality is different from your reality. And, we look at two different generations. We're talking about two different generations now. Different generations. Like, I'm not in the same generation that you are in because things have changed between the generation that you grew up in and that you knew versus the generation that I am in. Yeah. And things are just not what it used to be back in the day. But let's go ahead and go to the next caller.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go to a first-time caller. Coco, where you calling from, Coco?
Hey, I'm calling from Silver, man. I'm sorry my voice is a little hoarse.
It's fine. It's fine. Hope you feel better. Yes, what's your question? I hope you feel better. What's your question and comment for Chris James?
Mm-hmm. I would like to know how I, as an African-American woman, can help heal the relationships that we have with our black men in general. And I have a family of black men, and they're very loving, caring, and considerate, thoughtful of all the women in their lives. But I work in a public place, and I've had on more than one occasion where an African-American man has verbally assaulted me because in the course, in my job, while I'm doing my job, and just felt like it was okay to just cuss at me, to go off on me, yell at me, raise their voice at me, tell me I was terrible. I mean, all kinds of insult me, things like that. And what I realized from those experiences is that there's such a divide that's been created between us, that there's such a disrespect that allows someone to actually come on your job and they don't know you from Adam's house cat, but they could be so disrespectful that they can cut you out in public and for everybody when you're just doing your job. And I want to know how I, as a black woman, can help heal that divide. I don't want to be perpetuated. And when my baby nephew grows up, I don't want him to have to experience that or those that feel that way.
Okay, let me have Chris answer that for you because we're coming up on the bottom of the hour. Let me have Chris answer that question. Go ahead, Chris.
So I'll try to be brief. So I'll say this. I'm sorry that you, it's unfortunate that you experienced that. I'll say this. Whenever somebody is operating from a space of anger in a way that they're cussing out a random person on the street, you got to understand that is not coming from a mentally well space, right? So number one, let's acknowledge that, right? And number two, as we talk about the divide between black men and black women, right? Let's just focus on black men, the hurt of black men, right? A lot of black men are hurting, A lot of black men are in a lot of pain that they don't even understand. How do we heal that? I think number one, every black man in America needs to experience therapy, like immediately, right? Therapy. I had a conversation recently with a friend of mine, and we talked a lot about how there are a lot of men who are living with trauma that is so that I won't even say it's buried. They just don't even understand it because they're dealing with a lot of trauma as a result of being in relationship all their lives with these single mothers who were forced to raise them by themselves. And a lot of mothers have caused trauma in the raising black boys alone with hurt with hurt that they were dealing with. They have put that on black boys, and now black boys don't even realize, man, why am I so hurt? Why am I treating women like this? Well, 50% of mental illnesses are developed by the age of 14. A lot of these mental illnesses that we're walking around with, we developed when we were children. And now we're adults responding in these ways. There are a lot of men who are dealing with trauma that was given to them from the relationships with their mothers. And that's something we don't talk about enough. And so I think that needs to be a conversation with a lot of men. Again, there are a lot of men who treat women in very nasty ways because they are hurt by their mothers. And they don't even realize that they are hurt by their mothers because they don't have the language to identify that pain. They don't have the language to undress what that relationship did to them as children. And now it's showing up in the way that they treat random women and the women that they're in relationships with.
Chris, we're running out of time. How can people get in contact with you and any information you want to give to our WAOK listeners this evening?
Man, please get in contact with me by searching Chris James Journey on any social media platform or Chris James, and I'm on a journey. My website is thechrisjamesjourney.com. You can Google Chris James, poet, mental health practitioner. It'll come up. So let's connect, man. Let's keep doing the work. Again, if you need a mental health coach in your life, I would love to be that person to come into your life and help you improve in your mental health.
Well, you know what, Chris? You did a service today. You didn't do a disservice. You did a service today. You made me feel a bit better. You made me feel a lot better. And it's just so refreshing to have another mental health advocate, a black man mental health advocate, to come into the studio and speak your own truth to our listeners. So I definitely feel better just having this conversation with you. And that's why it is important to have these type of mental health conversations, because you don't know what a person is going through. And I know that's a cliche we say all the time, but we have to have these conversations to lift each other up in the community, in the black community. So Chris, we definitely will be building offline, and I'm looking forward to building more with you. Much success to you and all that good stuff.
Thank you so much for having me, man. And this was a very valuable conversation, and I hope it did. I hope you no longer allow those not so good moments to consume your entire day, brother.
There you go. Chris James, ladies and gentlemen. Kim Hart, author and motivational speaker, is coming up next right here on News and Talk 1380 WAOK.
This is Reggie Gay here with Sean Garvey on Mental Space. Listen, don't make room for bad news.
Yeah, that was
every
definitely
day
good.
your own good news.
They don't know this, Simone. They don't know this song. They don't know who this is. Me and Simone was talking about it offline. Of course, around this time is Simone's Choice. It is the Queen Bee herself, Beyonce, and whoever this is singing, rapping, or whatever. Name of the song is what?
Energy.
What? I don't know. It's a
Energy.
Beyonce song. That's all I know.
I said
It's a
energy.
Beyonce song.
Energy.
Energy. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm a Jill Scott, Erykah Badu type of person. No shade to Beyonce. She was doing her thing, but it is Simone's Choice. 404-726. 1380 is the telephone number, the Mental Space, Sean Garvey. Hey, if you are an advertiser, if you know somebody that would like to advertise on the Mental Space, please send an email to thementalspaceshow@gmail.com. Once again, it's thementalspaceshow@gmail.com. If you have a business that you would like to promote during the Mental Space Wednesday nights from 7 to 9 p.m., email me your inquiry to thementalspaceshow@gmail.com. I need you all to hold off phone calls, ladies and gentlemen, because right about now I am bringing up this author, motivational speaker, and podcaster, Kim Hart, to share her journey on her mental health. So please hold off phone calls. This is a pre-recorded interview with Kim Hart right here on the Mental Space with Sean Garvey, 1380 WAOK. 1380 WAOK, and on the Odyssey app, look for News Talk 1380 WAOK. Joining with me right now, she is an author. She is also a motivational speaker.